Hello, welcome back. Welcome 2024. Happy New Year, guys. And for this video, we're going to check on our first sort of a standard deck update. Let's say a metagame update for this format. And we check on the MTGO qualifier, in which was done last January 1st, 2024. And the winning deck out of the 140 players, as you can see here, is the Dimir Aggro by Mogged. Username Mogged, as they say. But how this deck, let's say, as why it is the good deck of choice for this kind of metagame, and we're going to see how it has been able to fare out of these other cards or deck that you can see here on the side. We have some Azorius soldiers, domain control. Let's have 3 copies of the deck in the top 8, I mean, and we also have White Winnie, Golgari Aggro, and Rax Control, in which they can say as far not really that of a less tire from as compared to the Dimir Aggro. So we can check on the list of how this deck has turned out to be the deck of choice for winning this MTGO qualifier are the creature choices, the spells, and other sideboard plan as added in this deck. And first up, of course, we're going to check on the choices of kind of creatures, including also the new cards from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So we're going to check on first the Deep Cavern Bat. So having this deck also as 4 copies of this, yes, and also in my experience using also with the Golgari Aggro deck, I have also considered this creature to be that very relevant in these matches, and also with that of the Esper mid-range deck that we have been playing in MTG Arena. Now for this build, in which we're only focused on the blue-black, we go with having creatures that are sort of disrupting or having to check on your opponent's hands, getting the best card at the moment, and then having them look and see what will be their next steps on their succeeding turns. So having 4 copies of the bat is very important for this kind of deck. Also, of the 4 ops as we have here are Fairy Mastermind, that is also a playset, in which it can only have to be a flash flyer with a 2/1 power, and can also have you to draw a card, and whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you can also draw a card. So in any given matches, this can be also more of a Winnie support, and also a utility creature in the mid game up to the late game. Now for the other 4 copies is Spyglass Siren. This is also like a unique 1-drop, which is just a 1/1 for 1 flyer, but when it enters the battlefield, you will create a map token. Now for having this important token as per this deck, you can also filter out some of your extra lands from your top card, and also make your creatures bigger with a +1/+1 counter as you be able to explore it. And so with this kind of curve, we can check the visual first, so we can figure out the kind of setup. So we have curving out from the 1-drop, 2 drops, these are 8, and to Preacher of the Schism or Geek Sagma Praetor, you can make sure that they have be able for you to have some cardo effects, dealing extra damage or maybe little damage early on. But the important thing is that you will be able to draw a card, and also gets you to your best creatures, and your, for example, we have Show Dread and Airtide selected as your counter spells to have to answer your opponent's best spells also. And for Preacher of the Schism, in which this is the inclusion from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, this can also act as a card draw, and also creating an army of 1/1 white vampire creature tokens depending on the life total or any given scenario. For that instance, for example, if you have the most life, if you are going aggro, for example, you can just draw a card and lose 1 life. But with that of Deep Cavern Bat's lifelink effect, you can just nullify this effect and basically draw a card and get your best spot removals or other card draws per your setup. Now it's let's say it's this have the Subterranean Schooner as your other 2-drop in the deck, because its ability that can be crew for 1 and can also attack and have your tag creature that could at this turn explore. So that's a given card draw sort of in a +1/+1 counter for your 1/1s, for your Sirens or your Cavern Bats or your Fairy Mastermind, for example. So depending on how you would crew this one, and also help you to get them bigger at the same time, dealing some sort of early damage to your opponent's life total. So this somewhat reminds me of the regular Bunkbuster. As you can see here, it has already somewhat rised up in price. And now for the 3-drop, in which we consider Out of Geeks and Preacher of the Season, is or your sort of a 3-mana disruption is Tishana Steadbinder. This is already become a very popular card, or probably the most popular card in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan set. Is that its ability that can also counter target activated or triggered ability. So for example, you can have the ETB effect of Atraxa countered, and at the same time having that Atraxa only become a 7/7 with no other abilities as long as Tishana Steadbinder is in the battlefield. So that setup kind of really put down some of the mid-range or control-ish kind of decks that relies on the heavily card advantage, only one card advantage spell or creature for that instance. And so other spells that is included in the deck are of course spot removals, 4 copies of Go for the Throat, which is still the most solid spot removal in this metagame. Also it supports cut down for other aggro matchups, and of course the setup of the lands. Let's check the number. It's 25 lands, but with a lot of mana fix in the channel lands like Otawara and Takinuma, we still have Mirex as our 2 copies to make sure that we can still produce some sort of board presence in the form of Pyxian Might Artifact Creature tokens. But the sideboard setup, it's very much very straightforward because of typical blue-black strategies, which is still being observed up to this kind of deck build to the present. Let's say as comparison to that of the legacy kind of blue-black decks. So we have a few discard because of importance also that you will need to check on your opponent's hand and make sure that you have still be able to know what would be their next step, and also discard their best removal or mass removal or planeswalker. Then we also have some of the hard counters such as Disdainful Stroke and Negate to let off some of the heavy spells from your opponent, and also Shouldered that can also add advantage and more of a pressure with having them lose 2 life for each of their card draws. And of course Kaito Suzuki, which is just a 1 copy, but I think it's very be able to fit here in the mid-range and control matchups because of your several 1-drops and 2-drops that could be able to satisfy its ability that you can draw a card and only discard unless you have attacked this turn. Now for the aggro matchups, of course, additional cutdowns, Anoint with Affliction that can exile creature with mana value 3 or less. This can also relevant in indestructible creatures. We have Parasitic Grass that is specific for the humans matchup, which I think can also be useful for the mono red in case that you still have mono red in your local play area or in your metagame, in your local store, in which you can steal 3 damage to target human if you pay 2, and if you cleave it, you can just pay the deal 3 damage to any creature and you will also gain 3 life. And last but not least, very specific for the soldier matchup are a 1 copy of Glistening Deluge. Now for just a quick board building plan, since you still be able to have those kind of matches in terms of mid-range of aggro, or let's say the mid-range and control, boarding in the Sinnoh Strokes, negates maybe additional Shieldred or Kaito Suzuki to deal air pressure, and then wear off your cut downs, maybe make disappear, cut off a few geeks, and get also get 2 copy out of Go for the Throat. Now for the aggro, of course, you still retain all of these spot removals, maybe slow cards such as Tishana Steadbinder, since these are just particularly flashy 3/2 creatures can be boarded out, and you can board in cut down, and specific for mono red or humans, Parasitic Grasp, Anoint with Affliction, so that's already 3 copies plus Glistening Deluge for 1 copy. That's 7. You can print out the Tishana Sidebinder, a copy of Geeks, Youngbot Praetor, maybe 2 Airtire Resurrected, and also I think you can also board this one for that aggro matchup, since Soldier lets you gain 2 life for each card you've drawn. So that particularly is your blue-black deck. So I think in this setup, let's check the top 8 matchup as you go on this. Because of the 143 players, it's probably a very long Swiss rounds before going into the top 8 matchups. We can also check on what were his matches for this one. So Mogid has defeated Shaton in the quarterfinals. Let's check Shaton's list. It is also a 5 color domain control, which is another good matchup of the deck. And then he also defeated Sept in the CMS, which is a white Tourney, which is also his sideboard is also well prepared for that one. So you can see here, the white Tourney is more of an infect kind of deck, but still these are still white creatures, so your deluge would still be very effective against them. It's a 2-1 match though, and last in the finals is Jeskai with the 5 color control domain, which is still a good matchup for this kind of deck build. So overall, I think you can still prefer this one. A very, let's say, a very safe deck to play in the current standard metagame. It's let's say that this is also a very strong deck, but with the right setup of this build and also with your sideboard, I can be pretty sure that you can still be able to win any of your deck matchup that you can face, even for your next grinding for MTGO or even in MTG Arena for this kind of build, which also popularized for this metagame as a result of the MTGO qualifier tournament. So I guess that's pretty much it. Our first deck tech for the year is blue-black Dimir Aggro, and also probably a Dimir Tempo kind of deck, which is also a very good choice for the current standard metagame format. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you like this kind of deck tech analysis and discussion, just click like and subscribe, notifications on, so we can have more of this feature kind of videos for the upcoming new set in probably in February. And we can also explore other formats. As you can see here, we have particularly a lot of topics to discuss if given. So if you need to have to learn more of each of these formats metagame. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.